Welcome. In this video, we are going to talk about 21 Divisions Voodoo hierarchy, as well as my spiritual work policies that I ask, that my spirits have asked for my lineage and for myself to follow if I am offering spiritual work to the collective. So today, we're going to talk about something that has to do with my 21 Divisions Voodoo, because here's the thing. Whenever you do spiritual work or readings with someone, you have to kind of know a little bit about what they believe in and what they work with. Because if you don't know what they work with, if you don't know what they believe in, then you don't know what the foundation of the energy and the information that you're receiving is coming from. You don't really know. So that's why it's important to know what your spiritual worker is working with, or what beings they're working with, as well as what do they believe in. Because if you don't know what they believe in spiritually, then you kind of don't know what their foundation is, okay? I'm going to discuss something today that's usually not discussed outside of spiritual houses. It's not usually discussed outside of initiates, outside of our personal spiritual house, okay? But I'm going to be discussing this today because there's a lot of scammers on the internet that are going out and presenting themselves as if they have more say or more ashe in the spiritual world than they actually do. And if they are claiming to be working with the Loa, I need you to understand that the Loa work in a very specific way. The Loa, or misterios. In 21 Divisions Voodoo, we call them mysteries. And other Voodoo practices, the Loa are called Loa. In 21 Divisions Voodoo, we call them mysteries. Okay? That's just because of colonization, the name got a little changed. So in Haiti, you might hear them talk more about Loases. In Dominican Republic, you might hear people talk more about misterios, or mysteries. I come from, how can I inform you? And I'm going to tell you why. What my credentials are. My credentials are Mambo, High Priestess, and Caballo de Misterios in the 21 Divisions Voodoo. That is the highest level of initiation and preparation that a person can reach in our practice, okay? High priests and high priestesses are equivalent to popes in their lineage. And from my experience and the experience that I've had with some other lineages, the Mambo and Huagan usually is chosen from every generation. A different Mambo and a different Huagan is chosen because we do things by lineages in my practice. So every lineage usually chooses from every generation the ancestors, the elders, see which one is going to be able to hold the spirit, and they choose the person. Now, a lot of my siblings and my aunts and uncles, my aunts are prepared to be a psychic, or prepared to be a curandera, or prepared to be a reader, but they're not prepared to be a mambo. They're not prepared to be a Caballo de Misterios, right? So my mother was the Caballo de Misterios. I inherited Caballo de Misterios from my grandfather. My grandfather was Caballo de Misterios. My great-grandmother was Caballo de Misterios. As far as we know, my lineage goes back at least 9 generations. That's 9 generations, over 300 years of people doing the same thing that I do. Okay, so it gets passed down almost like a royal family. So this is why a lot of these scammers on the internet, they don't know what they're talking about. They're calling themselves Mambos when they're just priestesses in training, or calling themselves Huagans when they're just priests in training. Priestesses in training are like cardinals. Until you are chosen to become the high priest or high priestess of your lineage, which is the Mambo or Huagan of your lineage, you are not a Mambo or Huagan of your generation, okay? So that's another thing that I need you to understand. There is a hierarchy of who is allowed to do what. There are certain things that somebody who is just a member of the practice can do, and that can be, I'm going to go over some of these things. There are some things that just a member can do versus something that only a boko can do, only a huagan can do. And the reason why I say there's a hierarchy, it's not because the higher you are on the hierarchy, the more important that you are, which technically it is, but it's not meaning that because you're higher on the hierarchy that you're better than other people. It simply means that you have higher proximity to the loa because you have dedicated your life to serving them, doing their work, and basically living this life 24/7 where you are always accessible to them to do work for other people, to be a destiny worker. Because when you work with the loa, when we do workings with the loa, there are multiple steps, way more steps than just doing magical works, way more steps than just doing hoodoo. Okay, I need you to understand that. Hoodoo and voodoo are not the same. Hoodoo has aspects of voodoo, but voodoo is higher ranking than hoodoo is. Hoodoo works primarily with the ancestors and some Appalachian magic, and they throw some law in there, but they're not really, in my opinion, supposed to do that. But let me focus on my practice. 21 divisions voodoo and Haitian voodoo are considered higher ranking, at the same level as Orisha practices that are closed. Okay, so let me go over the hierarchy. Okay, at the bottom of the hierarchy, you have the collective that is not initiated. The collective that is not initiated can honor the loa by giving them offerings as a thank you. As a thank you, or as a way to start to ask them if they will accept you into their fold. Okay, so somebody who's non-initiated, you could use an oil that is like blessed after the loa. You could use like candles that are blessed after the loa to bless your space. You could use sprays that are blessed or in the name of the loa to bless your energy. Okay, so that's fine. If you're not initiated, you can do things like that, right? Where you can do an offering if you go to a mambo or wagan and you learn how to do it the right way. You can do an offering to the loa, you can give thanks, you can give a donation. So non-initiates, they can get workings done with a mambo or huagan, or with a boko or a caplata. A caplata is a female boko. So a female boko and a caplata and a boko are the magicians. Magicians in voodoo are allowed to do both light and dark magic, okay? Usually. But I'm gonna go over that. Non-initiates, non-members of the practice, meaning you didn't grow up with the practice, you are not a member of it, you never got a baptism to become a member of the practice. Baptism of becoming a member of the practice is the same thing as if you get baptized in the Catholic Church when you're a baby. That doesn't mean that you have any kind of ranking. It just means that you joined the church. That's the same thing in the 21 divisions voodoo. At least in my lineage, who has been practicing this for over 9 generations. And we work with the loa, and we mount the loa. That means that the loa possess our body and talk through us and tell us exactly what they want and what they don't want, and what they like and what they don't like. Okay? So, non-members, non-initiates, you can buy something that is made by a mambo or huagan or a boko, and you could use it if it has been prepared by somebody who has that as shit. Okay? If you are a member of the 21 divisions, usually you have to go through baptisms, and you have to go through some sort of initiatory baptism, not to be a priest, but just to be a member of the practice. Meaning that as a member of the practice, you usually are taught how to serve your spiritual quadrant, because every person in my practice, we have a spiritual quadrant, which consists of our spirit guides, our guardian angels, our ancestors, the loa that walk with us. Okay, everybody has usually a loa that walks with them if they are drawn to voodoo. Okay, and we teach you how to honor those beings. Honoring, worshiping, and working with are three completely different things. Okay, I need you to understand that. Honoring is like you're an acquaintance. Okay, you're an acquaintance. You buy them some nice things to approach them, let them know that you're interested in becoming closer to them, but that's it. That's all you're allowed to do as a non-initiate. And as a member, when you become a member, usually the initiation for a member is usually a day or two. Just a member, that doesn't give you permission to become a worker. Okay? Some of y'all just don't get that. Just because you got 1 day baptism does not make you a bako. It does not make you a mambo. It does not make you a priest. It does not make you a priestess. You have to go through the different levels. There are different levels. Okay? So when you become just a member of the 21 divisions, usually it's just like a 1 day ceremony. You become a member and you can honor, just like in the Catholic Church, you can pray to your saint when you become a member. You get a saint assigned to you. This is your saint. This is the one you can pray to. It's the same thing in the 21 Divisions Voodoo. When you become a member of 21 Divisions Voodoo, because you did the baptism to become a member, you can honor your saint. You can honor your misterio. That doesn't give you permission to start asking them for things. You usually honor them for their general blessing and protection as a member. That's it. You honor them for their general blessing and protection. Above that, you have a level called a servitor or devotee. This is somebody who is specifically devoted to one loa or the head loa of their lineage. And they honor that loa and they are a devotee to that loa. And because they are devoted to that loa, they start to be taught how to do workings for themselves. Some workings, not all workings. They get taught how to do certain things, certain petitions, and certain ceremonies for themselves. That's it though. You're not allowed to do anything higher than that, okay? Then you have the curandera. Some lineages have this, some lineages don't. My lineage has a curandera and a mediumship initiation. That means that you get your head prepared to be a curandera, which is a healer / cleanser, or a medium. And it's usually more of an initiation for protection, not necessarily to give you permission to do workings with the loa. I have curanderas whom are 3 times my age, who send me clients because they understand that there are workings I'm allowed to do with the loa that they are not allowed to do with the loa. This is just things that we know from growing up in the practice. Curanderas, healers, mediums, they can get prepared and kind of be on that same level where they can talk to the dead, they can do healings, they can do cleansings, but that's it. Above that, you have the boko and the caplatas, or ceplatas, depending on how you say it. And these are like the brujas and brujos. These are the brujas and brujos that actually have been prepared to be magicians with the loa. Usually, the brujas and brujos, they tend to work with more of the Petro nation and the Gede nation. However, they can work with other nations as well if they have permission to, okay? Above that, you have the plaza. Usually the plaza and the boko are kind of in the same level, and that's because the plaza is the anchor for the caballo de misterios. Different lineages have different opinions as to where the plaza falls, okay? Because the plaza is the assistant to the caballo de misterio. Some lineages will say the plaza falls under the same level as magician, as boko, as caplata or ceplata. But some lineages will say, okay, the plaza is a little bit higher because they have to have certain training with the loa in order to assist the loa, okay? When the loa is in cabeza. After that, above the Siplata and the Bocos and the Plazas, you have the priests and priestesses. The priests and priestesses, I'm going to repeat myself, are not mambos and huagans. The internet is lying to you. Priests and priestesses are not mambos and huagan. I was not allowed to call myself a high priestess until I became one. About 3-4 years ago, I finally became a high priestess. Before that, you would notice, if you look up any of my information, before that, I called myself a priestess, which was a mambo in training. But when I became a mambo, which is a high priestess, then I was allowed to call myself a mambo and high priestess. Because priests and priestesses, you can have one mambo or one huagan who is at the top of the spiritual house and have multiple priestesses underneath. The priests and priestesses are trained in ceremonies and some magical workings, but there are still certain ceremonies and certain workings that they are not trained on, and they're not allowed to do until they become a full mambo or huagan, which is the top of the pyramid. And when I say top, I'm not talking about because we're mambos and huagans, we're better than other people. It's about proximity to the loa. It's about dedication. It's about how much training have you gone through. You wouldn't want a surgeon that is day one on the job to do a surgery on you and pretend to be head surgeon, right? You would probably want the head surgeon doing the work for you, doing that surgery for you. It's the same thing with spiritual work. In 21 divisions, spiritual work is extremely important, and I'm going to go into that now. I went over the hierarchy so that you can understand why spiritual work is so important, because I'm also going to go over some of my spiritual work policies. If you are considering getting spiritual work with me, you need to understand how the process works. Okay? Spiritual work in the 21 divisions voodoo, and most voodoo practices, even in Ifa, spiritual work is extremely important. Not only is it suggested, but it's often considered necessary in order to maintain yourself in alignment, to purge karma from your ancestral lineage, and to gain momentum in your spiritual and physical elevation. Okay? Because we know that we come into this world with certain karmas and certain debts that we need to pay, and we need to cleanse off of ourselves, and we need to align our energy. So spiritual work in 21 divisions is extremely serious. It's not something to joke around with. It's not like just doing a magical working. It's not just like doing a magical candle. It's not just like doing something in hoodoo. It's extremely deep transformational work. In voodoo, when we do spiritual work, we are not just looking for instant, like temporary results. A lot of other practitioners, yes, they'll give you results. I'm not telling you they won't, but they will not give you long-term results. And usually the reason for that is because they are working with lower elevated spirits. Some of them are working with their ancestors. Some of them are working with just their own energy. So the level of ashe that they have is going to limit how much they're able to do for you. When I do work for somebody with my loa, we are digging a deeper trench. We are looking for the root of the problem, and we are digging it out from the root to remove it, with the hope that with you maintaining your spiritual health and your spiritual maintenance, you will create long-term results in your life that will last for a long time, if not your entire life. So when I do workings for somebody, it's not just, oh, you want money, okay, let me do a money work for you. That's not how it works. You want money, okay, we have to look at what is blocking the money from coming in. Is it past life karma? Is it this life karma? Is it witchcraft? Is it a hex? Is it a curse? What is actually blocking that flow? It's like when you're having a gastrointestinal surgery and they have to look at and see, Okay, what is blocking the intestines? Why is there no flow through the intestines? It's the same thing. When you do spiritual work in voodoo, at least in my lineage, the way that I was trained for many years by my grandfather and my other elders, you have to look at what is blocking the flow. We have to deal with what is blocking the flow before we can get to what you want to flow through that. Because you could do a money work, but if you're backed up energetically, how is that money work supposed to help you? It's just like it's like being constipated and continuing to throw food in your mouth and nothing is coming out the other side. It's the same thing when you're doing spiritual work in this practice. When I do spiritual work for someone, my loa always ask my clients and ask me to tell my clients, you have to give me 1 to 2 months to work your energy. Because we are in this era of Instagram, people think that everything needs to be done in one day. That's not how it works. It takes me anywhere between 1 week to 2 months to work someone's energy, to shift someone's energy. And we have to do ceremonies for that. We have to do offerings to appease the loa or to appease the spirits that walk with you. We have to do multi-level. Most of my ceremonies have anywhere between 4 to 6 steps that take multiple days or multiple weeks. Because we're going in to not just give you a quick band-aid on your spiritual problems, we are going in to create deep spiritual transformation. I have had clients whom had such good karma that we were able to do a quick work for them and it was like $300 and we were done. And then I have had clients who had such bad karma that we have had to do so many works for them that it cost them over 10 grand. So this is what I need you to understand. Work is also, in my lineage, I don't know how other people do it, is based off of your owed karma and how much energy it's going to take to remove and to shift what you want to happen. Because everything in the spiritual controls the physical world. Everything in the spiritual controls the physical world. Because we are all spirits walking around in a meat suit. So you have to understand that. Which is why I asked for you to book a consultation, because every single case, I have done thousands of spiritual workings and ceremonies. Because I've been doing this for a while now. For a very long time. Compared to my age. Okay? I would have to say, spiritual workings, about a decade and a half. I've been doing readings for almost 22 years now. Okay? No, not 22, 20 years. So, professional readings I've been doing for about 20 years. So anyway, you have to understand, there's a time frame. I can only control when I start the work. I cannot control how long it takes the loa and the angels that I work with to complete the ceremony. They ask me to ask you for 1 to 2 months, and that is what I always give my clients as a quote. Give me 1 to 2 months to start the ceremony and work with the spirits and see what they can shift around. Okay? So that is my normal time frame. In my practice, okay, we do not allow readings, consultations, or other work with other workers while you are doing the work with my guides, with my loa, with my angels. We do not allow that. Why? Because that's too many cooks in the kitchen, right? So my spirit guides and my loa and my angels might be working on something for you. We're digging the trench of something, and because you are impatient, you go to another worker, and then they start throwing shit in the trench, and then we have to dig more stuff out, and then you're wondering why you're not getting anywhere. It's because as we're doing work, you are letting somebody else dip into that energy. There are some people who are very impatient and distrusting of workers, and they're impatient, and they want to shop around and hop around from spiritist to spiritist, from worker to worker. And then they wonder why things don't get moving. You have to have the discernment to choose the worker that you're going to work with. B, once you choose the worker you're going to work with, you have to have trust in that worker. Otherwise, you might as well not do it. And I will tell you this, I will turn away money. If you cannot trust the work that I'm going to do for you and the work that my spirit guides are going to do for you, you're going to be working against me the whole time. I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to do it. I don't care. I've turned away 20 grand, 30 grand, because this person was controlling and wanted to tell me how to do my job. If you need a surgeon, why are you going to go over there and try to tell the surgeon how to do their job, how to perform a surgery? I am a spiritual surgeon. You can't come to me and tell me I'm not just some hoodoo worker, no offense to hoodoo workers. I'm not just some witch, no offense to witches, because they have their different powers. This is a different thing. Just like working with the orishas and the babalaos is a completely different thing. Okay? So, as a voodoo mambo, I have to follow the process of the loa. So, that's how it works. That's how it works. A few policies if you are considering doing workings with myself and my loa. Again, normal time frames are 30 to 60 business days, because we have to do things the right way or don't do them at all. Because my spirits seek transformation that is going to allow you to create long-term change. Again, hear me say that. It's going to allow you are responsible. After we do the work, you are responsible for what energy you reintroduce into your life. Because I've done workings for someone. I've done one. I spent 2 years working on someone's energy because they got left effed up after breaking up with somebody. 2 years. We finally got her going. We finally got her doing good. Finally got her luck back. Finally got her money back. Finally got her love back. Her positive energy back. Her health back. And then she got back together with the person who destroyed her to begin with. So again, we do the work in the spiritual world to help you lead a better life. But your decisions after the spiritual work is done matters. Your spiritual maintenance matters. You're grown. You need to be accountable for yourself. Again, some people work with lower ranking beings, so they're going to give you quick results or possibly give you results, but they're going to be temporary, because these lower ranking beings or lower ranking ancestors, they still have to go to the Loa or the archangels or the higher ranking beings to get permission for certain things. 2, the cost of your work is based on your owed karmic debt and how much energy it's going to take me and my spirits to transform that energy. Also, how is that energy going to affect my life? That also goes into the cost of your work. Okay? All quotes for me, when you're working with me, all quotes are good for 14 business days. So you can book a spiritual consultation, either a 15-minute or a 30-minute. All quotes are good for 14 business days. Why? Because lunar cycles can affect and shift energies and can either worsen or shift the energy of what needs to be done for you. So if you book a consultation, understand that you have to be ready to get started within 14 business days. Otherwise, you would have to book another consultation when you're ready. I have 2 types of consultations. I have a 15-minute, which is good if you have 1 to 2 issues that you want to discuss and that you want to get a quote on how much it's going to cost you energetically, financially, to get the work done. That's a 15-minute one, and I would say 1 to 2 issues because we don't have that much time. And then for the 30-minute consultation, if you have more than 2 issues that you want to discuss, you need to gauge how much time you think it's going to take you. because I had somebody who came with like 15 issues and only booked a 30-minute consultation. I cannot keep extending consultations the day of, because then there are other people who have paid to talk to me who have to wait, and I end up having to go to their appointment late because someone else was not prepared. Okay? I will not be extending consultations day of. So either book the time that you need, or understand that you're only going to be able to discuss with me so much information, and you're going to probably have to book another consultation. No refund policy. Why? I cannot return the offerings that I give to the misterios. So there is no refund for spiritual work or for spiritual services. I cannot return the energy that I used to work your work. I cannot return the food or the alcohol or the flowers that I had to give spirit on your behalf. So I'm responsible for performing the ceremony. That's what you're paying me for. But the results and the decisions are up to spirit. If you don't believe in the Loa, if you don't believe in their abilities, if you don't believe in the archangels and you don't believe in their abilities, don't get spiritual work done with somebody who works with them. It's that simple. Because there is no refunds. I cannot return the energy that I use. So therefore, I cannot give you a refund for it. And I cannot give you a refund. The only time I've ever offered a refund is if I had not done the ceremony for whatever reason, which has never happened. Maybe actually one person, because the person passed away before we were able to actually start the ceremony. She had paid like that day, and then the next day she passed away, and I refunded her. That's the only, and as a courtesy, I have the discretion to decide if I'm going to do that or not. So please understand, yes, spiritual work and spiritual services are non-refundable, because we cannot return the energy that we use doing work for you or any of the offerings. If you're considering getting workings done with me, with my lineage, there are to be no other workers, psychics, readers allowed to dip into the energy during the time. Whatever they tell you anyway is BS during that time. Why? Because as soon as you start the work with me, my spirits and I put a block on your Akashic records, and your spirit guides put a block on your spiritual energy. So anything that you're hearing, when you are anything that you're being told is complete BS by anybody else, because until the work is started and finished, they cannot pick into that energy. Okay? So while your workings are in progress, during that 2-month period that your workings are in progress, there are to be no other readers reading you, no other workers working for you, because too many chefs in the kitchen will ruin the soup. Okay? And I do not offer consultations or readings during that time frame for anybody, for anyone, because what we are reading is transit energy. It doesn't make sense. I don't receive a final update from my spirits when I'm doing spiritual work for someone until the end of that time period. So you're wasting your money trying to book a reading or a consultation while work is active, while I'm currently doing work for you. And no, I am not going to be emailing you back and forth. You need to learn to be patient. You need to learn to be patient. Just like when somebody's in the middle of surgery, they're not going to come out of stitching up the patient or going through somebody's guts to come and update you on what is going on. It's the same thing in spiritual work. When I'm doing the spiritual work for you for that 2-month period, you need to be patient. I have done thousands of workings, and I have people here who can attest for that. I have done thousands of workings, and I have never missed, knock on wood, sending a final update with pictures and a breakdown of what happened. And I am going to say something. That was not allowed in my practice. I had to get permission from the Loa to do that for the sake of transparency. But in my practice, we never gave or showed pictures of the workings. We only had to start doing that because of all of the scammers in the world. So because of that, out of the sake of being transparent, I asked my spirits for permission to allow me to provide at the end of the work period, whether it's 30 or 60 business days, pictures and a breakdown of what I did, what my spirits did, and what I saw during your working.
Those are detailed.
And they're detailed. So, well, as detailed as possible based on what the information that the Loa give me after your work is done. Okay? So that's all I have to say. So that is the process. Somebody said, have you ever had a cooperative person but their guides refuse to cooperate? Not really, because most of the time it's not their guides. The only ones that I have, your guides are usually the ones that send you to me, because they see me in the spiritual world. They see who I am. They trust my energy, and they will guide you to me. Most of the people that I have done work for, like I said, I've done thousands of spiritual workings and readings. Most of them are guided by their spirit guides to me, because your spirit guides can look at me in the spiritual world and they talk to each other. They talk to your spirit guides, talk to my spirit guides on the other side, and they'll ask my spirit guides before you even come to me. They'll ask my spirit guides, hey, do you believe that High Priestess May can help my person on this path? And if yes, then your spirit guides will usually send you to me. They'll start giving you the push to come to me. Okay? That's how it works. I know that because I do a lot of communicating with the spirit teams. I'm a spirit guide channel, so I know that in the angel channel, so I know that they communicate with each other. The spiritual world is very organized, but it's also very similar to the physical world. It's a very close reflection to the physical world. So a lot of the same structures that we have here, like court structures and government structures and like the Vatican structure hierarchies, are very similar to how it is in the spiritual world as well. The only time that I have seen, back to the question, have you had a cooperative person and their spirit guides didn't want to cooperate? It's not usually their spirit guides. It's usually their negative ancestors that have not elevated. Other mediums are going to lie to you because they are not aware that people can be earthbound. Spirits can be earthbound. There are ancestors that I have removed and that I have moved on who have been earthbound for over 200 years and have passed down, have attached themselves generation after generation after generation to someone and block their blessings. Okay? This is not I believe, this is I know. This is what happens. Yes, when people die, everybody doesn't automatically go to heaven. Mediums that tell you that because they don't believe that you are capable of knowing the truth, then not everybody goes to heaven. And a lot of them also don't know, and they believe that because they're destined to only work with beings in the light, they think that there's only beings in the light. Because they're not destined to work with shadow beings. So they don't acknowledge anything outside of the light. I could go on and on and on about some of these mediums that are famous that lie to people and tell you that everybody goes to heaven. No, everybody does not go to heaven. There are people who get earthbound. There are ancestors who become earthbound. Some not because they have bad intentions, but some because they are traumatized. Okay, a lot of the ancestors of people whom descended from slavery are traumatized, and they are afraid of the other side, and they stay in the in-between. So a lot of people get blocked by their either negative or earthbound ancestors. because those ancestors are either afraid or spiteful or traumatized and need help. In my generational curse removal sessions and ancestral elevation sessions, so when I do generational curse removal, I also do ancestral elevation sessions. That is where we identify what ancestors or how many ancestors might be earthbound, if there are any that are earthbound. And then I work with my angels of death that I work with to move them on to the other side. Once we have been able to successfully detach them from you. So that takes time. There's only 24 hours in a day, and I have to sleep for at least 6 of them. So then there's only 18 hours left in the day for me to do work. And I have to do multiple people at a time. Because if I only took one client a month, you would have to pay me over 20 grand to be able to make up for the energy of the work that I have to do if I'm only taking one person. So I have to do multiple works. I have a limit on how many works I do per month because my spirits only allow a certain number of ceremonies per month. And I try to maintain my ceremonies as affordable as possible. But I promise you, there are other Mambos and Hagans out there that are charging. You think I'm expensive. Some people think I'm expensive, but I'm not. I'm actually, based on my practice and what other people charge in my practice, I promise you, I'm one of the lowest charging ones. Okay? Because there are people out there who charge 3 times, 5 times, 10 times what I charge. Because they know, and as much as I know, how much energy goes into things. If I'm able to give you an affordable price on something, I will. But if I can't, I can't. Because I have to also take into account, how is me removing something off of you going to affect me? So, thank you for listening. If you would like to book, if you would like to see if you have any spiritual work that needs to get done, you can book a consultation on highpriestessmay.com. I will never DM you offering you any readings or workings. There's a lot of fake pages out there. Unfortunately, there's a lot of fake pages on Instagram, TikTok, and now I'm noticing some fake YouTube channels of me. So please have discernment. Understand, I will never email you. If you need help from me, I do specialize in curse and hex removal. Okay. I do specialize in hex, curse removals, in blockbusters, and cleansings, as well as spiritual detachments, and sometimes exorcisms if an exorcism is necessary. So if you believe that you or somebody you know needs help with their spiritual world, their spiritual life, because again, the spiritual controls the material, you can have them book a consultation, or you can book a consultation at highpriestessmay.com. So make sure that you are okay with the process. You have to trust the process. You have to trust the process. It's not the same thing when you're working with the Voodoo Loa or with the Orisha. It's not the same thing as just going to an elemental witch or a hoodoo worker. It's a completely different, it's a much higher process, and it's a much deeper process. So you have to be okay with the transformation that's going to come from that process, and with the patience that is required throughout that process. Otherwise, I'm just not for you. And that's okay. All right? If you need me, you know where to find me, highpriestessmay.com. Also, if you haven't looked over there on HPMA Magic Shop, HPMAMagicShop.com right now is in the process of restocking for our spring restock. So we are in pre-order mode at this time for the next month, and then after that we will be shipping out orders. We are in the process of our restock. If you would like to purchase or pre-order anything, you can go on HPMAMagicShop.com. Many blessings. And that HPMAMagicShop.com is all stuff that I do with my elemental magic and with the blessing of the Loa. Many blessings.